G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. We are talking round 17, the first of the last of the best 22 rounds. And we are talking about what went right and what went horribly, horribly wrong. Let's go!
Coach has done it from nowhere. Blasting the goal from inside the circle. Sheed from the boundary. Dusty.
G'day and welcome again to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on Twitter at Ball Boys Fantasy. And I am joined once again by the stalwart of the fantasy community, Luke Rogerson. The man just keeps on plugging away no matter his own situation, no matter how well his team is going or how poorly his team is going. He's here with a smile on his face.
It's nice of you to say, but it's all factually incorrect. I am a defeated shell of a man, and I don't know how much longer I can keep showing up on a Monday.
Well, you've got about 7 more rounds. Can you make it that far? 7 more rounds. Give the people what they want.
I'm going to limp to the finish line, but I cannot promise any enthusiasm.
I think
whatsoever.
you might be limping alongside Jai Caldwell, so more on that later. But obviously, it was another eventful round, Luke. It was the first round after the multi-bye round where we went back to best 22. And look, a lot of teams might have been hoping to drop off a score this round because there's a bit happening. And our weekend was a little different as well. So we were away down the coast for a wedding. Obviously, we didn't have the Friday show, which is always a bit sad. Miss doing that and talking to the lovely people out there. But there's a bit of news going on, and we had to stay across the news as well. We might as well touch on this here. The Bally Smith laid out again, third time for the season.
We're going to touch on it about 3 times during this podcast.
Yes.
So it will come up. But what did you score this round?
I scored, well, I did have a decent round, and I think might have been a little bit kissed this round with a few big fourth quarters. But I scored 23.59, which has moved me up about 1,000 spots to 2,276 overall rank. It was the top 1,000 round rank of the week. So
It's actually not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad. Feeling pretty good despite having to take a bench score for Bally Smith. But I think I can't complain too much with potential donuts out there for some people. What about you, mate?
I scored more than 100 points less than that, 2244. It's managed to move me up ranks, but that is just an indicator of the fantasy wasteland that I am operating in at the moment. Nothing's going right at the Oxlongs. Some self-inflicted, but a lot of sliding doors calls knock on my way at the minute.
Yes, it is.
It's the way it goes sometimes.
That's fantasy in a nutshell. Sliding doors. It's the longest game of sliding doors you've ever played. So let's talk about some camels.
My hump, 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 my hump.
All right.
My hump, my hump, my hump.
You've got the man who was the highest scoring midfielder of the season.
Fuck that guy. There were a few camels that were getting around this weekend, but all I needed from Jordan Dawson was 18 points in the last quarter to win my matchup. At least I could hang my hat on the fact that I would win my matchup, and even though my team is full of fucking duds, hey, I won my matchup. 18 points from one of the highest averaging players in the game. The motherfucker couldn't even manage 10, let alone 18.
Yeah. And
the insult to injury here is that I should never have even had the fucking captaincy on Jordan Dawson.
Yeah, this was the thing.
How in the fuckity fuck did I end up with the captaincy on somebody who wasn't even in the top 10 big boys?
No, he wasn't in the top 10 big boys for a reason. And unfortunately, with the news, there wasn't too many options for you to go to after the fact.
Well, his last quarter was just absolutely camely. I will drive by here at the point where Bally Smith did go down and I didn't have many captain options. I did say to Mitch, who is my resident big boy expert, should I go Nasiah Wanganeen Miller or should I go Dawson? And Mitch did say Dawson for the win.
I don't know if I said it that way.
I think you did.
I didn't have my big boy notes on me.
No, that's the way I heard it. But I mean,
I don't think either of them were in the top 10.
In hindsight, why would I ever go against my boy Wang? So shame on me.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
Fair Camel.
Who is now averaging more than Jordan Dawson, by the way. So let's go onto the positive note. And let's talk about some sponge behaviour.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
SpongeBob SquarePants!
Absorbent and yellow and porous is he.
SpongeBob SquarePants!
Before we go and announce the Sponge of the Week, we didn't have the live show on Friday, but we had a very live interaction on the weekend. We were down the Gold Coast for my brother's wedding, actually, and we were just getting around the park with the kids on, I think would it have been Friday afternoon? Maybe Friday morning. Friday morning. Anyway, somebody wanders up to me and says, "G'day, Luke. My daughter just wants to let you know that she absolutely loves the SpongeBob sound grab." And I'm trying to piece together what's going on here.
Yeah, I love SpongeBob too.
And eventually I said, "Hang on, you listen to our podcast?
Yeah,
we've been recognised in public here.
We're officially famous.
Officially, and don't worry, we've been letting everyone know about it." Anyway, we get to talking to this lovely fella. Introduces himself as Clinton, and obviously lets us know that his daughter loves the sound grab. And then as the conversation evolves, we realise he shouldn't have been recognising us. We should have been recognising him because it was none other than Clinton Young, 2008 Hawthorn Premiership player.
See, I'm disappointed in you here, Luke, because you're the resident AFL expert in this.
I should be all over this. So
I'm the nuffy who's joined late. Of course, I don't know anyone like that was previous to 2019. If you didn't play in 2019, I don't know who you are. So this is in your territory here, mate. You should be all across this.
But unbelievable, lovely bloke to chat to, and he said he and his daughter enjoy the podcast. We obviously made sure that his children aren't listening to some parts of the podcast.
I was going to say, you've already dropped a few F-bombs before that.
Apologies, but hopefully you enjoyed the SpongeBob sound grab again, so we appreciate it.
All right, a roundabout way to say that Colby McKercher gets the Sponge of the Week award because this man, he's got that Dacos DNA in the thirst factor. He has that just give me the ball wherever I am. I don't care if I'm in a good spot or a shit spot for the team. Just give me the ball. And we've been saying he's been getting disposals. He had another 32 disposals on the weekend. He gets more than 30 most weeks. But the marks finally came, Luke. 9 marks in this one, and we finally score a pop score from him. And in his last 5, since he's basically moved to that half-back role, he's averaging over 100 points per game. And there's no urgency to trade him out right now. He could be in that echelon of the top 6-ish defenders if we can see a few more games where he does pile on those marks.
That's it. He added the marks, and I've been kind of saying this for a couple of weeks. If he does find it, he'll hit the ceiling. He did. So, Colby, well done. There was a few sponges out there, but I thought it was good from the young fella.
Yeah. Still only 1 tackle, so there's more ceiling there, I think. But, yeah, great job. All right, let's go on into the Bogs and Flogs, the highs and lows of the week.
And the winner of the Norm Smith Medal.
You're an embarrassment to what you do, mate. You're an embarrassment.
So we're gonna start with the Thursday night game of North Melbourne versus the Western Bulldogs, and there was a lot happening in this game, Luke. So we're gonna stay in the ruck department, but I'll have a couple of special mentions here. Best on ground to our boy Tim English, who this was a tough matchup.
Yeah.
He's had some gravy runs up to this point, but he's going to this tougher matchup. We've chosen to hold him, but he came out and he got us a really good score. A couple of goals in this one and continues to just be having a really, really nice season. So 116 for him in a matchup there. He went in his only 70 of the season in round 1.
We needed it too from Big Timmy because the flog in the game is not particularly Tristan Sherry, but it's the unfortunate fact that he had to go off for, I believe it was a HIA. He was actually scoring really well, which was to be expected against the Tim English matchup.
Yep.
But
he was going to get the 110. He was going to get there.
I think he was, and given what we know about how some of the other rucks in the comp are going, we just desperately needed it, and we didn't get it. So it's not you, X-Man. It's the unfortunate injury.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what the incident was that caused him to have the HIA, but the good news is that apparently he is going to be fine. and he'll be playing this week. It just was an unfortunate time of the game where he had that assessment. Also want to give a shout out to my boy, Sammy Das.
Oh, this is sickening.
Fourth quarter.
Can I have a look at your tip, please?
No, I was a bit upset. I went to Twitter. You can
Did you go to Twitter too?
You can call it a rocket.
I didn't see you go to Twitter.
You can call it a rocket, but I said, why the fuck do I have a key forward in my team in round 17? I should listen to myself, Luke. Well, it turns out I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about because this guy's just built different. And what I should say doesn't apply anymore to this fella because he came out and had 65 points in the last quarter, tripled his 3-quarter time score to save his score. And I tell you, there were points in the first half where there was at least 2 grabs that he could have got that were surefire goals. And so this could have been an absolute monster score. But yes, the man gets the best on ground adjacent award for saving it in the last quarter. So
welcome to having a key forward in your team.
it was one of the most exciting quarters of footy I've seen in a while.
Mitch being kissed is a theme this week, so stay tuned. Carlton and Collingwood on the Friday night. It was bog and flog Dacos Central here because Nick was getting it done and Josh was not getting it done.
Well, Nick loved life without the tag being there. Though obviously, Chincotta, the bread, it went stale, so he got dropped, and Nick Dacos did what he wanted, and what he wanted was to get points.
His brother did not. Let's move on to West Coast and GWS. Also a Friday night game, double Friday night game this week. I've got the bog here. I was tempted to just go full negative from my perspective, but I put your perspective in there a little bit. Tom Green's final quarter, I think it was 50 plus, and this was
doubled his score.
This was 2 consecutive nights in a row that Mitch had his tip well and truly kissed, and it wasn't the end. It was not the end. I don't even have a flog in this game because this game was so fucking boring.
There wasn't too much going on.
It was just boring.
Yeah. Harry Ralston could 50. No, it's fine.
No, we're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave it flog free in this.
Flog free. Okay. Essendon versus Gold Coast. Do you want to keep the theme going with the best on ground?
The best on ground is your tip because there was nothing more kissed this weekend.
This is good coaching right here.
So we're talking 65 point last quarters, 53 point last quarters. Now we're talking 100 point second half from Noah Anderson.
Yes.
Who was on 22, I believe, at halftime.
Yes.
Finished on 122. I don't know if you know this, but he's also the one that injured Jai Caldwell.
Oh, was he?
So,
well, he can't injure a bloke's ankle. Like, he did...
tackled him, apparently.
Oh, well.
Just saw it in passing on Twitter. Absolutely no idea if it's true or not.
Okay, you better hope it's true.
It could be straight slander. But I'm happy to slander this guy because he's just kissed you. 100-point second half. What is going on?
Hey, look, Mishman's game plan this weekend, we're going to say, okay, we're going to come out, we're going to avoid tags. We're just going to be shit in the first little bit. And then the second quarter, bam! We're going to come out and we're going to lay down some big points. And the boys executed the game plan. That was the pre-weekend speech.
This game could not have... This might be the worst game of the season for me.
Okay.
I cannot get my head around how this happened. And I expect that there will be a few people that share in my...
disgust.
Just absolute disgust. How the fuck... have we been sitting here preaching about the fact that we know full well that if Zach Merrett goes back into the midfield role, he is a top 4 midfielder in
the competition?
Okay. And then we trade into the statistically top 4 midfielder in the competition, Jai Caldwell,
there was no disputing that Jai Caldwell, when in playing the right role, is an absolute fantasy gun.
The statistic that you've been throwing around is still unblemished.
It's still unblemished. 50% CBAs, 70% TOG.
And people know exactly what we're talking about because Jai Caldwell made way for Zach Merrett, and essentially, like we would have all expected if we knew that was coming, the roles were completely reversed. Zach Merrett is now
145.
145. Jai Caldwell is not only scored poorly and didn't play midfield time, he is now gone in for surgery. So anyone who traded him in at our advice last week, just like we did, is now also fucked.
Yeah, it's very frustrating because, like, obviously we saw exactly what could have been Jai Caldwell's score. Like, Merrett scored 145 points, Luke. That easily could have been Jai Caldwell if things had just stayed the same. Or if they had just done it with any other player. Merrett and Caldwell are your two aces.
Fuck Setterfield off.
Setterfield, get the fuck out of there. Who was the other guy in there? Durham. He doesn't need to play as much. He can do other things. Caldwell and Merrett are your two guns. Play them in the midfield.
We were obviously out and about living it up at weddings and whatnot, but I'm actually interested to know if anyone was watching the pre-game. I want to know, did Brad Scott say something about this in the pre-game?
Yeah.
Was there a chance for people to jump ship, or was this just completely out of the blue? But this is part of the reason that I am teetering on the precipice of never showing up to this podcast again.
So the other thing that was happening at this time as well is the Bailey Smith late out news. And like I said, we were at a wedding, and at that wedding, it was a very wholesome idea to, have it in a location where there was no reception. Okay, so everyone was just trying to be present, be in the presence of love and commitment and family. And so
Everyone except us.
And so we did the healthy thing. There was a little bit of rumours. We didn't know exactly if Bailey Smith was going to be out, but we saw some rumours before heading to the venue. So we did the healthy thing of finding the one person at the wedding that had reception and getting a hotspot, getting reception to check to see if Bailey Smith was indeed out, checking, because we had the vice captain on Caldwell, checking that VC score, deciding, no, fuck that, we don't want to. You had to trade out Bailey Smith.
I had to trade out Bailey Smith. So the flow-on effects for this were just demoralising. I was meant to be in the presence of love. And I felt the least bit of love I've felt in my life. Because it forced me to trade him out. I put the captaincy on Dawson. That went to fucking shit. I lost my matchup. And now Caldwell's had surgery. I've got to trade Bailey Smith back in this week.
Yeah.
So my team, once again, is just treading fucking water, not going anywhere. I had a look at, and shout out, we love the Pod and we love Holmesy particularly. And I was having a quick chat with Holmesy today. He's obviously moved into the top 100, not only into the top 100, he is ranked 30th currently. And I just had a bit of a sneak peek at Holmesy's team. And I don't want to go too far, but I just about wanted to end it. This Holmesy's team is looking amazing. It makes me think there's no point in me.
Well, I'll tell you this right now, Luke. You're not going to finish top 30.
Well, I don't even feel like lacing them up.
No, lace them up, mate. We've got to inspire the people out there. You're an outside chance to get into the Content Creators Cup finals, and who knows what's going to... You finished 8th last year and won the whole damn thing.
No.
There
No.
is 7 weeks to go. Let's enough of that quitter's attitude, mate.
All right, Geelong and Richmond.
Best on ground was my captain, who I changed to following the news again after we showed extreme commitment, which was the theme of the weekend, to my fantasy squad, and changed the captaincy to Max Holmes. He went out and did his thing, and he is absolutely killing it right now, averaging 101 for the season. This is what I expected from Max Holmes at the beginning of the year. It took a little bit to get going, but now he is delivering. And the flog you've gotten here for Baz for having the sniffles.
Yeah, correct.
It's more Geelong too.
It is more Geelong, and Bailey Smith's just had a few ailments throughout this season.
It's the third time he's been laid out. Not one time has he been out that it was named on the Thursday night.
Yeah.
Not one time.
I think he needs to take a multivitamin or something, some sort of healthcare routine where he can not be laid out.
And of course, that was the key reason that Geelong defeated Richmond. Like that tactical switcheroo in the last minute. It's what got them over the line.
It overwhelmed us, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just killer. Brisbane and Port Adelaide. Best on ground is Zachy Butters, who has been going along slowly recently, but a ceiling score is what we're after.
This is a good game from him. 90% Tolk, 31 touches, 5 marks and 6 tackles. Really, really good game from him. And again, another player who's at a very cheap price that performed really, really well.
I've lumped in the Brisbane Primos for the flog in this one. Zorko, Dunkley, Will Ashcroft. None of them managed 80, I think it was. Maybe Zorko had like 79. But
79, yeah.
Pretty poor from them.
That Port Adelaide matchup, it's always...
It can be tricky.
Yeah, it's always a tough one.
St Kilda versus Hawthorn. This was the checking the scores and the Uber ride home from the wedding.
This was nuts.
Wang goes big.
You know who else? You haven't listed him here. You know who else was big? Nazire also went really big. But Max Hall, did you see his score?
I did, but I didn't want to mention it.
124. That is. Where was that in the bye rounds? Where was that in the bye rounds? Could you imagine if you had him as the backup or your emergency score for Bailey Smith?
Oh, man.
Talk about kissed. That
Yeah.
would have been very kissed.
Yeah, I did see that. No. The flog for this game is us, and it's all to do with the Rowan Marshall move at Rowan Marshall's.
That is going to bite us on the arse, Luke.
By moving him to Tristan Sherry, he is just all over him, and it's looking absolutely horrific.
Yeah. He's coming with a bullet, Rowan Marshall. He is going to storm home the second half of the year. And I think he might be a must get at some point, but it's all about priorities. And the last couple of games on the Sunday, Freo versus Sydney, best on ground, Errol Goulden. I'm going to say it, he's officially back. He is back, and it is Errol of old. Yeah,
I think last week we sort of presented kind of 4 midfielders that we thought might be locks in at the top 8 midfielders, but
one's out.
I think one is out, and we can probably just replace him with his teammate, given what we saw on the weekend. And then the 5th name that I think we can add to that list is Errol Goulden.
Yeah, he is doing his thing. 7 marks, 8 tackles. I want to check his time on ground. 88% time on ground. Not quite the 90s that we saw last year, but it's still high. I'm officially ready to say that he's back.
The flog in this game is Caleb Sarong. If you made the choice to trade Caleb Sarong to Zach Merrett this week, you actually made yourself $100,000 and you made yourself 100 points in 1 week.
That I don't think you could name a better trade.
No.
That is incredible. I traded out Sarong. Unfortunately, I went to the other Essendon midfielder. Made 30 points. In a forced trade. And obviously didn't lose as much cash. So not the end of the world, but yes, he is someone that definitely probably is someone needs to go.
Keeping in line with the motif of misery and dejection, I haven't named a bog for the Adelaide-Melbourne game because this game sucked. And the flog can go to Jordan Dawson, C above, but also Isaac Rankin. Don't give me 100 points on 5 goals in a week where I was going to trade you and then hold you, and just don't do that to me.
Yeah, 100 with 5 goals and you score 100 points.
No role change. It just makes you think can he stay? No, he still has to go. He's nowhere
Also,
near it.
Clayton Oliver, what a fake human being. Like this man.
That's Jesus Christ. That's deep.
Where is this guy
I'm
gone?
sure Clayton is a nice guy.
No, well, he'd want to be. He'd want to be a nice guy because he's not scoring good enough to be a shit bloke. Cool. All right, strategy.
Well, that was
chat.
depressing. Oh.
Strategy chat, and you can really tell that Luke's on the run sheet today because on the run sheet written down here just says "fuck everything." So, do you want to elaborate here, Luke? Is this are you taking a school out of Adam Simpson's book #fuck 'em all?
Fuck 'em all.
Is that the go-to strategy at the moment?
Yeah, I hope that nobody tuned into this podcast for genuine insight because you will not find it here.
No, well, hold on. What are we doing if... Well, one thing I want to talk about is players were very happy to have Tom McCarthy on the field last week. 101 and 95, he comes out and scores a 76. Is he still a priority to upgrade? Because he is going into a Port Adelaide matchup this week. I would be nervous running him on field. I think the 76 also was kind of semi-lucky to get there. I think he had maybe a quiet third quarter from memory, and it was looking like it might have been even worse than that. But is it still the priority to make sure, he had 6 points in the third quarter, came home with a 26-point last quarter, his biggest quarter of the game. Is it still the priority to get all the rookies off field?
It depends if you have a choice.
Yes, this is true with someone like Caldwell.
But yes, I know we're meant to look more broadly than just our team. So yes, if you are in a position where you can get him, up to somebody that I think has like a less volatile scoring potential than a rookie, then I think you definitely do that.
Because also he plays the last game of the round, so you're not going to get a look at him. You can't loop him in terms of like seeing his score, then deciding if he's going to be the guy you go into.
We're getting to a kind of part in the season as well where there are some guys that are kind of priced only just under players that we consider premiums as well. So I'm thinking like a guy like Ned Long, it's not a stretch to get him up to, a player that we could potentially anticipate being top 8 mid. And then maybe you've pocketed a bit of cash and you could also do McCarthy up. I've got a fair bit of cash there, but then even if you go down from like a fattened rookie and then McCarthy up, like there's still guys that I think are value. Like someone like Colby McKercher is still killing it.
Yeah, he's actually still value, and he's been value for 5 weeks.
Yeah, so. He's got a break even of 41. He's 833k, and in that role that he's playing, the only thing that I will say about Colby, and I did mention this in my write-up this week, was that after Melbourne this week, I would bet that he's going to get a James Jordan tag.
It might be. I mean, maybe they did tag a midfielder this past round in Caleb Sarong, so they could go to someone like LDU or, I mean, they should tag Sheasel, in all honesty. But I think this is the last round for Colby. Like, he's been value, he is still value, but I think it is probably now or now just you've missed it.
Yeah.
It's been an extended opportunity, so hopefully a lot of people who have been listening to us have jumped on. If you traded out Bailey Smith last week, and you're in this boat, is he a must get back in straight away? Because the word is he's going to be back this round.
I think I actually think for my team, I'm going to roll the dice and try to improve my team. The reason, I say improve my team, but I've got fucking Horn Francis, Isaac Rankin sitting in the forward line. GWS is the matchup. So is there an argument to say that GWS are already not the easiest matchup in the world, and they do have guys that sometimes can tag?
Would you, genuine question, would you tag him or would you tag Max Holmes?
Max Holmes, I'm guessing, played high CBAs this week, just gone. Yeah. But when they both play, has Holmes been playing majority midfield still?
He has. He sometimes goes to the half-back line, but he's primarily been a midfielder. I think I would be tagging Max Holmes. I think he's a better player, and he uses the ball way better than Bailey Smith, just from a football point of view. I think he does more damage to opposition than someone like a Bailey Smith it does. And that's the beauty about Bailey Smith, is that he is this type of player. Like, he's the Jared Lyons from several years ago, the guy that just racks it up but doesn't force a tag in that sort of situation.
Yeah, I think we've got to give a little bit more credit to Bailey Smith. I agree that not all of his disposals are, penetrating Wang-like kicks. But I think he breaks lines. I think
no one penetrates like Wang.
Nobody penetrates like Wang.
His eye's a good kick too.
Yeah. When he rolls into the middle on his preferred leg, which is his third leg, there's nothing like it.
I don't know why I found that one so funny.
Anyway. What was I talking about? Oh, Bailey Smith. I think Bailey Smith is a better player than maybe you give Jared Lyons. That's not a fair comparison.
No, well, hold on. You're maybe thinking of, there was a season where if we look at Jared Lyons, hold on.
Just because he's your doppelganger, mate, you don't need to bring him in.
Great looking dude. There was a season where I think Jared Lyons averaged 116 AFL fantasy points.
I'm talking about AFL play. I'm not talking about fantasy.
Yeah, I was talking more fantasy in that way, in terms of that's why he's so good. Yeah, there was a season, 2021, Jared Lyons, 117 average for the season.
Based on your line of questioning, are you suggesting that Bailey Smith, you need to bring him back in because you suspect that he won't get attention this week?
I think it's a high-ish priority. Now, is he value? No, he's not value. So could you maybe, instead of targeting him, go after someone who's...
I considered like McRae.
So
I considered, I've got like, let's say a Rankin or a Horn Francis, who I believe I found out from one of our Patreon members, Horn Francis kind of only went to the middle this week after, was it Asava Radagalia might have gone down, and then they switched the berg around. So this is anecdotal evidence here from me. But anyway, I've got those guys. Is it better to get them to McRae, save... Is it more than 200? It's probably more than $200,000. Is it to go from...
Yeah, well, he's 1.2 mil. It's about $300,000 difference between him and McRae.
Which is... an insane amount of...
Is Bailey Smith going to outscore McRae by 30 points? I mean, maybe with the captain on him. But you're probably not captaining Bailey Smith this week. No. Coming off a week off, going against GWS.
With a break-even of 138.
And then St Kilda is also... They've turned into a hard matchup for midfielders as well. North is good, but then Port Adelaide. So 3 of his next 4...
I don't think you can bet against him for 4 weeks, but I'd be willing to maybe bet against him for 1. But you'd want to be damn near certain that you're going to be able to afford him next week.
Yeah, it depends on who you've got in as well. Like, I do agree that I don't think it's a must do this week.
Yep.
There might be better things you can do with your money. And one of the learnings that I made last year was sometimes discounting these cheaper guys too much. And we just saw it on the weekend, just gone. Bontempelli, 130. Zach Merrett, 145. Zach Butters nearly went 120. All these guys were low 900,000s. So backing in those guys that, yes, they're cheap because they've been poor, but we know the type of caliber these players are. When they have the right matchup, these sort of situations can present like the best and most optimal trades you can make instead of, trading up. If you traded up for a Nick Martin, for example, he went really poorly. Jai Caldwell went poorly as well. So some of these guys, if you went up for a Jordan Dawson after missing him the last week or two, he was underwhelming. So yeah, it's maybe something that you could maybe go without. But like you said, I don't want to go without him too long because he has just been a step above everyone else the entire season.
Yeah, especially as a forward.
Any other players that you think, if we go to, maybe flick it over to the chopping block and maybe we'll start talking about some players we can chop from out.
Just a little tad early, but not bad.
No. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. The music was too slow. So chopping block. Jai Caldwell. So they are hopeful that he plays this season.
This season, yes. Yeah.
So essentially, he's a must trade.
Yeah.
Which is the shittest thing in the world. But anyway, he needs to be traded. The good news is that he still has a fair bit of money on his head. The difference between him and his teammate is still $101,000. So if you don't have Merrett, you've got Jai Caldwell, you can go to him, make $100K. Maybe that's enough to do something else with your other moves. But he essentially can go to any other player at the moment.
I mean, the whole kind of, I guess, irony of it is that they pulled that move, fucked a lot of people, and then because Jai Caldwell's now injured, then Zach Merrett is 100% chance to now continue to play in that role.
Of
Do you know
course.
what I mean? It's like...
And Parrish, I think, was also out as well. And that's why I thought, Parrish is out. There's no need. Why does Caldwell need to move around? Just put Merrett in there and just play those other two slightly less time in the middle. Fuck. Anyway.
So fucking bad.
But anyway, so he's got to go. Who else are we looking to trade out? Assuming we talked about the rookies before, they're still probably priority number one out after your injured players. But some of those sort of mid-prices or bottom-end premiums can go.
So Ned Long can go, Adam Chera can go, Sam Doherty can go, probably in that order, I would say, on a first glance.
What did Chera score on the weekend?
The good thing about my team at the moment is
93.
I am prepared for the chopping block segment because every face I look at, I want to chop.
I would trade Doherty out before I trade Chera. I have much more confidence in Chera's spot in the team and his role, personally, and his scoring ability. To be fair, he's averaged 97 on the season. I would go Long first, Doherty second, Chera third. Before probably any of them, I'd probably trade out Clayton Oliver because that guy sucks.
Yeah, no, I'd forgotten how much he sucks.
Yeah, he sucks. So he's for my team. I've got to work out a way where I can trade out Caldwell and Clayton Oliver to two premium midfielders this week. That's my homework.
Where do players like Isaac Rankin and Jason Horne-Francis and Chad Warner fit in? Caleb Daniel.
So, okay, here's the question here. The forward line. Now, I would say Nick Martin is the number one trade target this round. He had a good matchup last week. I did say in the big boys that the inside midfielders would probably going to benefit more against the Gold Coast because that's more of it. They're an easy matchup, but they're a different kind of easy matchup to Gold Coast, North Melbourne, Essendon, Richmond, like where there's just ball everywhere. Gold Coast give up the most amount of tackles per game and they don't tag, so like the top players can really just go after it. Nick Martin, I think, will feast this week. He has the Richmond matchup where he did score 166. However, his break-even is like 150.
This reeks of exactly how we were speaking about Zach Merrett prior to their last matchup against Richmond. And I can see the script playing out the exact same way.
Yes. But then they go into GWS the next week. So the question comes, okay, so either Nick Martin, maybe you just take on the break-even, you don't care. Kennedy's gone back-to-back 80s, and he's priced 1.05 mil. You've got McRae, 934. He popped a 120 score on the weekend, which is obviously very nice. But so how much better is McRae going to be than Rankin on a week to week? Now, he was better this week, but it was 20 points. So to me, it's sort of...
Well, he was better by 20.
When you're prioritising, I think your players like Long and Oliver need to go first. Then I'd probably slot in your Rankins, and maybe we talked about Sam Darcy saving his score, but it was a little glimpse on what could happen with a key forward.
Both ways, but remember that as well. Like it's a glimpse. You said, oh, he's all around it in the first half, but that's what key forwards are. They're at every contest. Oh, so close, but that can be the role of a key forward too. So keep that in mind.
And he could have gone massive, really.
So yeah,
he was a couple of grabs away from going 120.
So let's say you're talking about a guy like Ned Long in the midfield. Who are you trading? Let's say you're trading him to a Zach Butters.
Yeah.
What do you anticipate being the difference in scoring there week to week?
I think that there could be 20 points per week difference there. I think Ned Long could be an 85, and I think Butters could be 105. And I think that's a pretty safe projection. Now,
I feel very
closer, but or further apart. But yeah, I think what would you give Rankin? What would you say he is?
I still feel I feel like Rankin is in the current role that he's playing an 80, and then I think McRae's at 100 with the chance to go ceiling as well. So I kind of think there's a similar gap there.
Yeah. I'm going to give Rankin an 85. I think.
The only thing I'll say that the player that you trade in the midfield might be a captaincy option week to week as well.
Yeah.
We use Butters as an example before there, but if it was a Marcus Bontempelli, if it was a Zach Merrett, who now I'd imagine is just going to be in the best role again, you probably have that little advantage there. So I think you make a good point, but just don't discount how shit some of these forwards are at the moment.
Yeah. There's some floor scores that could be coming their way. Where does Caleb Daniel fit in that type of a mix? Because he had 3 70s in a row, but then popped out a nice 90. Like his role's it's decent.
It's not the worst. He's really interesting because he hasn't given us one of those like really floor scores recently where we go, bang, he's in the gun, he's got to go.
He also hasn't turned up since round 3.
Yes, so that to me makes it a really difficult decision because with guys around him that are so questionable at the moment, it's not a matter of if he has to go, he has to go. But it's a matter of like how long he holds on while everyone else has to go too.
Yeah. See, I'm looking at my team here and I'm going, okay, I want to fix up Clayton Oliver. But then I'm gonna basically sit on my midfield from there. And once Clayton Oliver's fixed up, it's just the forward line. Let's just start to get to those forwards because I can maybe sit and wait. And I know I'm maybe gonna miss a ceiling score from Nick Martin, but maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe there's something that doesn't go his way or. Who knows? I do know that he's not going to be more expensive the next week. So that's kind of how I'm approaching it. Matt Kennedy, I think, is coming down in price as well. So some of those forwards are going to be more achievable to trade in soon. But if you've got a better midfield than I do, like if you don't have your Ned Longs or your Clayton Olivers, maybe you'd be happy to sit with a Doherty or a Chera there for another week and then look at your forward upgrades potentially.
Have you looked at Holmesy's team?
No, I haven't.
Have a look at Holmesy's team.
So if you've got a team like this, I wouldn't be fucking around with that midfield. I'd be happy to lock in that midfield. Now he does have Bailey Smith in the midfield. Did he bring someone else on in the forward line? He had Caleb Daniel. So has he got 23?
Trading, he's got McKercher there for Hayes.
Okay.
But traded in Merrett and Butters this week.
Not bad.
Holmesy killing it. And we love to see it because Holmesy has had a couple of tough years, just unlucky years.
So, I mean, if I had that sort of a midfield, I wouldn't be trading out any of those midfielders. I think I'd be very happy to keep them.
Locked and loaded.
And do that. But yeah, those couple of mids that we talked about that are bleeding cash and bleeding points to the premiums, I think, probably to me still supersede the priority of trading out your forwards. So what about some targets?
Well, I was just going to quickly just throw one more name there. I know he's not one on your radar, but like a Callum Mills, for example. Colin McKercher, we're happy to keep generating cash there, but some people will still
Mills was okay, wasn't he?
90. So 95. In the last 3 weeks, he's kind of...
He slowed down, I think. I think he had a big first half from memory.
So let's just compare, let's say him with like a Ned Long. Ned Long comes up against Gold Coast this week, which you just cited as a pretty good matchup for inside midfielders.
Probably would suit him too.
Callum Mills has St Kilda. Mills has a lower break even. What's the gap between, like, let's say Mills and bringing in like a Dane Zorko for a decent matchup?
So Ned Long's got like 60k on him. I see them both quite similarly, and the premiums probably are similarly just as good. Like the defense and the mids are basically the same this year when it comes to like those top guys. So I'd basically, if I can get in a better player for one versus the other, I would treat them as equal. There is a defender this week, which I want to talk about as a trade-in target in Lockie Whitfield, who to me probably stands out as the highest value pick out of anyone, but similar to Nick Martin, comes in with a massive break-even. And Geelong is not necessarily the easiest matchup for half-backs. They're a better matchup for midfielders. So it could be just a case of you wait a week, Mills goes up, Whitfield comes down. In the meantime, you've got Long out to some of those other mids, because some of those other mids had their big score last week. So, for example, like a Bontempelli, his break-even is now 85. Zach Merrett's break-even is now 87. Zach Butter's break-even is now 89. Like, they've kind of hit that bottom and starting to go back up now. So, it seems like those midfielders is where you want to jump on now, and the defense and forwards can maybe wait a week with some of those other premium targets coming down in price. If you were sort of on the fence, is kind of how I'd see it. But no, Mills is still okay, I think.
Okay. Beautiful. More trade targets. So Whitfield, you obviously mentioned.
Yeah, so he, like, outside of the injured game, he's basically averaging 107, 108 points per game, which is definitely a top 6 defender.
Yeah.
Far and away. They also have a really good run after this week for halfbacks. So they go Geelong this week, Essendon, Sydney, Bulldogs, North Melbourne, Gold Coast, St Kilda. I want a piece of that.
So basically, wait for him to drop a little bit of cash this week. He might give you a 100+ score. Get on him next week.
Yes.
And then hold him for the rest of the
He
year.
is someone that I think he is definitely cheap now. He's 942k. He's maybe 10 to 15 points under price.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's going to burn you in this matchup. And just every chance that he's cheaper next week, and then you're just a little bit more certain with him coming back in. It is a concussion, so it's not one of those like lower body soft tissue injuries that I'm worried that he's going to re-injure it or anything like that. But maybe just let his price come down a little bit. But if you wanted to go this week, I don't think I'd talk you out of it, but there might just be better options.
I mean, especially if your team's looking really good and there's not many other holes to plug, then going a week early here could be not a bad play. Other defenders, Dane Zorko, Carlton this week, I think, off the top of my head, for the Lions. How do we feel about Dane Zorko?
So he was another guy that he's averaged 106 for the season. He is definitely a top 6 defender. Carlton, let me just check what Carlton are on the table.
Dane Zorko has struck me this year as a little bit of a frustrating watch because
Carlton are hard for defenders.
I think he actually has a lower floor than some of those top defenders, but he obviously just has that high ceiling and it kind of balances itself out.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of disappointing matchups this year for coaches. So you probably don't want to trade into a hard matchup.
There was a quote a number of weeks ago now where Zorko basically said he was asked something about getting a rest or something like that, and he basically said that it's something that he and Fags have talked about. So it's on the radar, but they haven't felt the need to because he's feeling good and he's playing it out. So I think that quote is just worthwhile remembering that. I mean, it may not come to anything, but the fact that they're having those conversations, just a small little flag.
I think it's to me that's enough of a flag to go elsewhere, at least for the next couple of weeks potentially, because we've talked about how many great defenders we have. Like if you're looking at the difference between, let's say, like a Lockie Ash or a Dane Zorko, well, why wouldn't you go with the guy that you're really confident is going to play every game, who's obviously younger? Maybe he doesn't have quite the high ceiling that Zorko has.
GWS have a better fixture than Brisbane do. And so in the next, basically, there's only one more green matchup for Brisbane for defenders, and that's the Western Bulldogs in round 19.
Yeah. And even though Lockie Ash maybe doesn't have the same ceiling, I think his really high floor kind of balances that out anyway.
Yeah.
So food for thought on that one anyway.
Agreed. So defenders, it's hard to really go past someone like a Colby McKercher, who's just getting it done. Wang, but again, he's right up there now in price. I mean, if he keeps doing that, I am going to go out and say he gets tagged this week. I think he gets tagged by James Jordan. You can't not.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, St Kilda lost this game to Hawthorn, but 40-plus touches and 3 shots on goal to me is the killer too. So, if he converts, that's one of the best games of the season. You go 40-plus touches and kick 3 goals. I can see why Sydney would be putting some work into him.
And they've done the halfback tag before with James Jordan. They seem to just move it around based on who's the most threatening player, and it's clearly Wang to me. Like he's the guy.
Do you think that could make Jack Sinclair a trade target this week? I know their run, I think, is maybe a little bit better after.
So Sydney this week, who are neutral matchup. Geelong, slightly tough. Melbourne, good. Then North, Richmond, Essendon, all pretty solid. So
the guarantee that he's not getting a tag.
I think you can go there. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's the thing is St Kilda are then going to be looking for another distributor.
Yeah.
Who fills that role?
Yeah, well, it's going to be him. So he's at the spot now where he's 100K more than McKercher. Is that
Jesus?
Is that 100K worth it?
No, not if your team is red hot. Like I'm holding McKercher there, but if you could find a way this week to get, I mean McCarthy's got so much cash to make, but if you through DPP could get another, let's call it a fattened rookie up to Jack Sinclair, I think that's not a bad trade this week.
Yeah, I think so too. So he's definitely someone who I think from here, I think he will bounce back. He's been. I know I've seen some questions floating around. Should we trade him out? I definitely wouldn't be trading him out. He's averaging under 100, but it's 99. Like it's not way off, and it'll only take a couple of good games where he was back at his classic 102, 103, which is what he's done for years and years and years. And they've got...
He's only done a couple of years.
3 years, I think. But he also has only 3 more games for the rest of the season where he's not at Marvel.
Yeah. And good matchups in there too.
Yeah, there's some nice matchups. So I'd be sticking fat with him and potentially looking him as a trade target. In the mids, Merrett scoreless 145. Are we being reactionary by saying he's a trade target now after he was so bad for so long?
The issue, I mean, no, and the reason is because we've said for the last 4 weeks that if he plays in the right role, he's a top 8 mid. So it's not, and it is sickening to me, but it's not only the fact that he played in the role this week, it's the fact that the guy who has been playing in the role is now out for an extended period. So that to me is the perfect storm for Zach Merrett to remain in that role. If Darcy Parish is in and takes, I could see maybe him taking a little bit of the edge off it, but it's Zach
Merrett, price at 95. He's averaging 102. So you've got, even if he does what he's done,
he's playing Richmond.
He's playing fucking Richmond.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to bite the bullet and trade Caldwell to Merrett.
I could see some tags coming his way. Giants round 19, Sydney round 21, round 23, St Kilda. Like, there could be some tags coming, but that's like a figure that out later.
I think so.
Situation.
I think over what have we got left? 7 games, 8 games?
Yeah, 7 games.
7 games in the right role. Zach Merrett will average enough to be a top 8 mid.
Yeah,
trade him in, get the sugar.
I think so.
Captaincy option this week.
Happy to trade him.
It makes me sick because it looks reactionary, but we've been talking about it for.
What about a Zach Butters? He also has a nice matchup against the Weagles this week. 947K. You already had Merrett. I think he'd be high on my priority in trading him in as well. He's been getting back into some form recently. So his last 5 average of 101, I think he is going to be just a smidge better than that. And I think he can go 105 for the rest of the year.
After the Eagles, the next 2 not as good, but one of them's a showdown, which...
Hawks haven't been tagging as well. They've actually been an easier matchup
for mids.
For mids recently.
Okay, so Zach Butters. I like that.
Yeah,
I like Zach Butters. So
yeah. Some other cheaper guys like Bont is still there, 144. Next 3 games, next 2 are tough, but not tag tough. Essendon's basically a walk-up 120 for him, so I like him still. These are all the guys that sort of, they're just way cheaper than they should be. Are we, now that Dawson is sliding, are we letting him go for a little bit if you don't have him already? I can see some ceiling scores coming up in the few games coming.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Western Bulldogs is not one of those.
No, they're a tough matchup still.
Yeah, so then Gold Coast afterwards potentially could be. But yeah, I wouldn't trade into Jordan Dawson this week. What about Ruckman? This was an interesting discussion last week, and no doubt we'll spend a little bit of time now. The case we kind of made was, the difference between Tim English and Brodie Grundy or Rowan Marshall could have been 20 or 30 points. Tim English, I think, defied expectations this week, and maybe someone like Grundy actually went a little bit worse than he's been going. I think it probably makes the point that you made on the podcast last week that, you could make a trade and actually end up with less points.
Yep.
But with somebody that seems to be going as poorly as Tristan Sherry, and someone that seems to be going as well as Rowan Marshall, is that a move that has to happen? Like that was 50 points this week. It was 50 points.
This is the hardest question of the day so far, because I feel like no matter which way I say it, I'm going to fuck it up. You could trade Tristan Sherry to Rowan Marshall and it be an amazing move.
Yep.
Set you up. He outscores him by 15 points every week. You could totally do that move and it backflips like crazy, and Tristan Sherry goes back to what he is and dominates. Tristan Sherry's matchups are not incredible. So he's got Max Gawn this week, so that's tough. He's got then Sydney the week after. Yeah. But after that, Geelong, St Kilda, GWS, Richmond. Those 4 matchups are gold.
Those are good, but let me park you for a second. If Rowan Marshall outscores him by 40 points for the next 2 weeks, it doesn't matter what he's doing in 4 weeks' time.
That's being Tristan Sherry. This is Tristan Sherry we're talking about here. But my point here is that I don't want to fuck with this.
Yeah, no, I think I tend to agree with you. The only bit that I want to push back on is that this is Tristan Sherry. Tristan Sherry had a good year last year, and I'm not I'm not poo-pooing him.
Yeah.
I'm not disputing, but
he's had there's been patches where he's gone
well,
massive,
I know. And he plays a position where that will happen. There's very average footballers that play in the ruck that actually score more points than they should. All I'm saying is I don't think it's just this lay down. This is Tristan Sherry thing. He's done a year of it. So
I see what you're saying. What I'm doing right now is I'm just seeing if I can find what he would have scored. He had those patches of games where he had that hamstring issue, and I just want to maybe
that's fair.
Just take out some of those scores. I know this is obviously something that some people don't like to do, but he was clearly hampered in that time. And if you take out those 3 games where his tog was down, he was scoring 70s. He's averaging 109.
Yeah, and even on the weekend, we said before, he obviously went off for an extended
period. He would have gone 110 easily.
I get all those things, but just playing devil's advocate.
If you were in a team where you had Holmesy's team there, I'd be considering it much more heavily than if you had a team like mine where you've still got Clayton Olivers, you've got Rankin sitting there, you don't have Nick Martins and Kennedys and these sort of types. But that is a position where if your team was looking closer to top 6, top 8 in most lines, then
you could consider
I'd look at it closely, especially over the next 2 rounds.
With the matchups.
Yeah, the next 2 rounds with Max Gawn and then Brodie Grundy, back-to-back games for Sherry.
Yeah, a lot of people highly ranked will be in that position where they're going to start to
It'll cost you money now, though. He's under $1 million, Tristan Sherry.
Yeah.
Forward line.
Have a look at the forward line really quickly. There's a lot of just absolute trash in my forward line. I want to talk firstly about Luke Jackson. I'm not as...
89...
And it's not just to do with the score, but I'm not as kind of bullish as I was a couple of weeks ago on Luke Jackson.
Yeah,
and he kicked 2 goals on the weekend. He's been kicking goals regularly, and there's no doubt he's playing really, really well. But I'm just not loving this ruck kind of mid-forward split.
I don't love it either.
Long term.
I don't love it either. I think he can be serviceable with that happening. But I don't think he's going to be a guy, if you don't have him, I don't think he's going to hurt you.
Yeah. Last week, I think you might have said Jackson over McRae. I might have said McRae over Jackson.
Oh, I think I flipped it in the end.
Oh, okay.
Check the tape. Go back to the trade targets. I'm pretty sure I had a McRae.
Point being, it was a bit of a coin flip.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel more confident this week that I'm Jack McRae.
Yeah, I am that way inclined as well. He went down to 46% CBAs, and he hasn't had... That's his second lowest CBA for the season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, think of that, and I'd be worried to trade him in. So he's, for now, and he's expensive still. Like, he's over $1 million. So I'd be ruling him out if you don't have him. If you do have him, I'm not worried enough to trade him out, but I don't want to trade him in. So to me, the two guys I'm looking... Like, McRae is right up there. Kennedy and Nick Martin. Where are we at with those two guys as options to trade in if you don't have them?
Nick Martin, to me, gets ahead of him a whisker just because he plays Richmond this week. And like you said before, we saw what he did to Richmond earlier in the year. I don't expect Richmond to be able to do anything that prevents it again. And I think that just the appeal of that ceiling is good enough for me to pick Martin over Kennedy. Can I ask you a question? Doesn't apply to me because I have Martin, but if you didn't have Martin and you now didn't have Bailey Smith, who would you trade in this week? Bailey Smith against GWS or Nick Martin against Richmond?
There's a decent price difference too.
Massive price difference. I think there's a break even. Oh, no, Martin's got a higher break even now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got a massive break even. Bailey Smith hasn't actually... Oh, he's 138 actually. So it's probably pretty similar. I might go Nick Martin. Yeah. Well, Bailey Smith is such a safer guy week to week.
Yeah, so like Bailey Smith, I feel so confident that it's 115. But Nick Martin, it could be anything from 95 to 160.
Yeah.
Do you save $200,000 and play a bit of roulette?
When do Geelong play? Because this fucking roller coaster. So they both play Saturday. Bailey Smith plays earlier at 4:15. I'm probably just going Bailey Smith if I can.
Feels weird to go against him. But, I mean, there might be teams, again, like myself, that are wanting a bit more of a roll of the dice.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Because that 100K might be, or it might. Is it more than that? 150K?
It's almost 200K.
Fuck me, holy shit. That is a lot of money. Maybe it is Nick Martin. I'm flip-flopping. But if that price difference allows you to do something else really good, then it's justifiable to go elsewhere. Anyone else on the forward line for us to really talk about? Like Christian Prochaka, what the fuck's going on with him?
I mean, it's kind of... I was going to say it's one bad week, but you don't have to go back far to his bye. But do have a look. Port Adelaide, Collingwood. And did you say St Kilda have been tougher recently for mids, or was that?
Yes, they have. They have been tougher.
So there's three matchups there that are a little bit more difficult. He scored the 105 against the Suns.
Better matchups coming up, but fuck
he does.
Me. Come on, man.
He is the least of my worries down there. I look at the forward line and I think like there's 5 guys there that can't be there by the end of the season. I actually don't look at my team now. I actually don't think I have enough trades between now and the end of the season to have a finished team, which is pretty fucked.
Yeah.
Let's finish on that note.
Yeah, let's finish on that depressing, sour note. We'll call it there, guys. Let us know in the comment section on YouTube, what are you thinking for your trade plans this week? We will be back on Friday this week. We're not going anywhere. And so we'll be down on Friday to record our live show if I can drag Luke to the studio. So get your questions in on that one. Hopefully, if you haven't already, go over to patreon.com and subscribe to get the extra bonus podcast. Our Q&A special where we answer every single question and also give you the captains and trade targets before the start of the round. And like, subscribe. Let's get us to 4K subscribers. We'll see you guys later. Bye.